Okay, so let's get started. For this project, you're going to need your wooden board, a bit of clay. You can get some extra for the add-ons. You'll also see you've got a little bag inside your box with some googly eyes. I'm going to use that today. And you also have a stick. So we're going to start off by making a pinch pot. So a pinch pot is basically when you roll a nice round ball. And we want to create a type of vessel like that, like a little pot. So you start with a round, nice ball shape. And then you're going to take your thumb and you're going to press in the middle of your little pot. You can use your non-dominant hand. I'm left, so I'm using my left hand. I'm going to use my right hand to just keep it together. I'm going to make an indent like that in the middle. You're going to push all the way down, but not too deep. Was like that. Okay. Now, making this type of motion with your fingers, you're going to go around. You're just going to slowly start by pinching it wider to make a nice opening. And as you go around, you're going to keep your other hand underneath it to just keep it nice and tight and in control. And you're just going to go all around by pinching to create a little pot like that. Okay, so here's one that's already done. You can see my one. If you look at it, you'll see my bottom part is nice and flat. So you can just tap it a bit when you're done, just to make sure it's nice and even so it can stand, so it's not going to wobble around. And you'll see the sides of my pot is nice and even. It's not too thin, otherwise it's going to break. It's nice and same with all around. So if you make a mistake, just squish it up and start again. But this is basically how you want it to be. Okay, so next up, we're going to start by doing the neck and the face. So you're going to take a piece of clay and I'm just going to put this aside. You're going to go forwards and backwards and just roll a thickish coil. You can tap it a bit on the ends. Nice and round, forwards, backwards. You can use both hands if you've got small little hands, if your child has small hands, or just one hand to create a nice little coil like that. So obviously this is too long, so I'm not going to use the whole part of it. I'm going to use my stick just to cut off a piece. And you're just going to like measure it against your pot. I think that looks good. Okay, so now to do this part, you want to create a nice round head and a beak. So I'm just like making it a bit rounded on the end. Just move it in a bit. And then you're going to take your fingers and you're going to just pinch out slowly a part of it to create a beak. Obviously there's a bit of clay still, so you're just going to smooth it out, but basically just like that, you're just going to create this type of beak with a head. You can also just shape it a bit better until you're happy, make it nice and smooth. If your clay gets dry, you can use a bit of water. But just remember, when you use water with air dry clay especially, it turns to mud if you use too much. So only a little bit, you can just spritz on your hands a bit just to keep it nice and moist so you can continue. Okay, so I'm happy with that shape for now. Now, to attach two pieces of clay together, if you're just going to do that, it's not going to stick. We want it to be nice and worked in. So we call this method the scratch and attach method. So I'm just going to a little bit flatten the part that I want to attach to my pinch pot. You'll see there I flatten it a bit. I'm going to decide, I think I'm going to use this part. And then you use your little stick and you're basically just going to do a little bit of scratchy marks. Not too deep, like that on the one side. And then on my pot, I'm also going to do the same. I'm going to do scratchy marks where I want to attach it. There we go. Like that. Now that two pieces is going to be put together like that. And now I'm going to turn it upside down a bit like that. I'm first going to use my finger to gently work in the bottom part into my pot like that, and then I'm gonna just put it flat down and just start working it in on the edges. So if you look at mine, you can't see where the joining marks are. Also remember, when you turn it around, that in the back of your pot you need to work it into that also, like that. Done all the joining and you're happy with it, you can use your finger just to work all the little creases and lines and bumps in to get it nice and smooth. So I'm happy with my little peacock. Now we need to do the tail part. So again, you're going to take a piece of clay. I'm just going to put this aside, and you're going to just slab a piece, because we want to create almost like a nice round shape. So I'm just gonna slab it. When you do a slab, you can see the thickness of my slab. It's not too thin. If you go too thin, it's gonna break. So don't go too thick or too thin. I always tell my students, like a piece of toast. That's a nice comparison of how thick you want your slab to be. Okay, so now I've got like a little round slab. I'm just gonna tap the one part a bit to create a nice flat area, and then you can shape it a bit. You can make it a bit higher, a bit thinner. It's up to you. Always measure it next to your little project. I think that's a good height. Now I'm just gonna softly taper down the part that's gonna be at the bottom, because that part we're gonna work into the back of my peacock. Again, when you attach two pieces of clay, you want to scratch and attach. So you see I've got some little extra piece of clay that's not so nice and smooth. So take your time before you attach it, just to get rid of all the lines and to get a nice smooth surface. It's going to be so much easier to paint if it's nice and smooth. Now I'm going to make scratchy marks, not all the way, just like a quarter of a way, just where I want to attach it to my pot, like that. And then again at the back of my pot where I want to attach it, I'm just going to put it on like that. And again, first at the bottom, I'm just going to smoothen in the bottom part into my bottom of my pot, just to get it nice and tight like that. And then on the edges, you can use your stick or your finger just to, sometimes I just roll the clay almost into the pot, just to create it like that. As you can see my example, you can't see any lines or joining pieces. You want everything to be nice and seamless. Also remember to smooth the inside, because here we want to do some painting techniques to create that nice feathery look. So make sure to also join it in the inside. Once you're happy with your project, you can leave it a little out, and once it's a little bit harder, you can smoothen all the bumps in again. Sometimes the clays, especially in the winter time, the clay can get very wet, and sometimes you'll see that your neck will fall over a bit, or your back tail area. So you can leave it like for 30 minutes and get back to it, just to smoothen out all the edges. But once you're happy with this, you're going to take two of your googly eyes that's in your little bag, and you're just going to softly press it into your head. I'm going to show you now. Like that. You can also use your stick to create a nice little line for your beak And then I use the back of my stick to just softly, don't push it straight through, just softly do, I'm going to show you now, a little bit of markings for your peacock feathers, like that. As you can see, it's not very deep, it's very shallow. And then you can use your stick just to create a few little lines in between, like this. So when we paint your project, you can get that nice effect. I hope you enjoyed making this peacock with me. I'm going to show you in a later tutorial, part 2, how to mix some colors to create all these nice colors. And then once it's dry, you can varnish it. Remember to keep your project in a windowsill. Don't put it in an oven or where it's too hot, but in a windowsill is fine. Leave it till the clay, you can see it here, it's nice and hard. You can't do any indents, then you know it's nice, it's ready for your varnish. And like I said, you can use it as a candle holder or to put trinkets in. I hope you enjoyed it. This is the first project of our Feathery friends.